What's up, y'all? Welcome back to your accounting midterm. I'm your host, Shoo. Are album covers important? Yes. Better question is, should I care? You do what you want. But that's been a question that's been floating around the music world since packaging and selling music became a thing, and even up to the year of our Lord of 2021. There are usually two camps that arise from this debate. Either an album can make or break a listening experience, and they are just as important as the music. Or the other side being the only thing that matters is the music. Now, this is personal preference, but I fall into the camp of art making or breaking an album. A lot of people can tell you the difference between a good album and a bad album cover, but they usually can't tell you why it's good or bad. Well, that's why I'm here. Today, I'm going to explain the history of the album cover, and logically explain what makes an album cover good and bad. Objectively, of course. So this is the art of the album cover. Welcome to my TED Talk. So before we get into my opinion, let's take a stroll down memory lane and talk about something that I reckon to say you probably don't know much about: the origin of the album cover. Let's start at the beginning. The very beginning. Now, music has been packaged and sold for a very long time, like when the 1915 album of the summer dropped. Album covers would usually be a 12 by 12 piece of usually cardstock, cardboard, or strong paper. But when music of that sort was released in stores, and you had to hold the 12-inch, looking at the cover, if you could even call it that, was very plain and, dare I say, boring. Just kind of a solid color background with writing on it, and it's not even a cool font. Or sometimes it wouldn't even be that, it would just be the sleeve, like, fuck this sucks. But this was the standard for many years, and the exception to the expectation ceiling, and the entire music industry for that matter, would be changed by one person: Alexander Steinwise. Alexander Steinwise would be credited in many different publications as the father of the album cover. Steinwise married the world of graphic design and music together. Now, the reason he married those two together was a challenge by Columbia Records. They hired Steinwise as the first art director and tasked him with revolutionizing the way album covers would be presented and the way music would be sold forever. So that's what he did. He used his graphic design background and illustrations to create some of the first album covers in 1939. You know, being some of the first album covers ever, these are kind of badass. Like, these kind of rock. Then the world was like, oh shit, so you're telling me I could do anything? Well, that was a lot better than what I was gonna do. And thus the floodgates opened, and a whole new world of artistic expression was opened in an instant. The album cover has been born. Anything new, especially with such creative liberties being able to be taken. Not all babies are made the same. Some babies are super cute and interesting looking and give your whole work of art an entirely different dimension to it and something to hang on your wall. And some babies are just visibly unappealing, gross, and smelly. Fuck that baby. It sucks and I hate it. But now that I explained to you the origins of the art, now let's talk about the expansion process and what people have done with it. Now I know I'm jumping a few centuries ahead, but let's get into what we all want to dissect and discuss. Why some album covers are amazing works of art and influence the genre for years to come, and some are just shit. And how I can explain the difference between the two emotionally and technically, because this whole degree thing was bound to come in handy one of these days. But Jake, preference in art is totally subjective. How can you tell people what's good and what's not? Well, everyone has their own threshold of what makes something good, especially with album art. There's a difference between being good and being a technically sound piece of art. I'll explain. So I have a few concrete phrases and design principles that will definitively show you why some album covers are just shit on a technical level. I'm about to drop some science on your bitch ass. Well, let's go in order from least destructive to most destructive. Contrast. I'm gonna lump contrast and color into the same sort of section. Contrast is essentially how well colors of your piece interact. Contrast is something that doesn't cripple too many releases, but can also lead to fantastic art if you know what you're doing. I think the best example of absolute dog shit contrast is the cover of the Talking Heads album 7/7. The colors here suck. When looking at it, it feels like I'm straining my eyes as I read it, and it's at the top of the screen for some reason. It plays unnecessary mind games with you as you try to read it, and I didn't even mention the font. Like, this just looks bad. Now, counter to that, an album that uses questionable contrast but pulls it off with flying colors, pun intended, is the Little Sims EP Drop 6. Usually the contrast rule is if your background is a dark color like black or blue, make the subject white so it stands out, but the background is a light enough blue that the black hand is highlighted, and it's begging you to look more into it and doesn't strain your eyes but attracts them with the perfect color scheme for a perfect example of contrast, and for that matter, color. Talking Heads cover also fails to have an appealing color scheme, and something with fantastic colors throughout their entire discography is pretty much anything that Jack White touches, keeping it very simple, incredibly visually appealing, and you know a Jack White cover when you see one, no matter what color it is. Visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy refers to the layout of your album cover and how things are positioned and sized, Rule number 1 in graphic design is the most important thing in your piece is the biggest, or the most highlighted. Someone at even a passing glance will be able to see the main point of your piece. That's pretty much essentially what contrast is in a nutshell. Lil Yachty's Teenage Emotion isn't necessarily a bad album cover, but it fails the visual hierarchy test. Like, what is the eye supposed to find and attach to, drill the point home of the piece? Bet you didn't even realize the little male and female sign to the bottom, because I didn't until I wrote this. Maybe if Lil Yachty was a bit brighter than the surroundings, like a bit of a vignette or something, or if everyone wasn't so colorful and Yachty was the most colorful here, I don't know, it's hard to polish a turd, you know? On the flip side, an album that has visually a lot going on, but passes the hierarchy test incredibly, is Tame Impala's album Currents. Not only does this pass the previous color category, but the most important image, the thing that your eye is drawn to immediately, is the ball. Bright, shiny, in focus. When your eye travels to the line art and the melting pink and yellows, then to the title, it's a fantastic piece. I mean, it went down in history as one of the best album covers ever. Quality. This is absolutely make or break for me. This kind of seems like no shit, but you'd be surprised. This is usually a symptom of your local SoundCloud rappers, not necessarily a major issue in big budget releases. If it is, you should be ashamed of yourself. But holy shit, it just cripples an album cover. Like, buh. Like, you can't talk about bad album covers without mentioning Viper. Like, this is obviously taken on a cell phone and possibly edited on a cell phone as well. I know the meme with Viper is it's supposed to be shitty, but for those who want their music taken seriously, hire someone with an actual camera for fuck's sake. Now Jake, if an album passes all these checkpoints, then it should be good, right? Well, not necessarily. This legendary example, Kevo Money's album, Baby Goat, technically passes all the check marks, but this is disgusting. This is an abomination. And on the flip side, look at Black Midi's album Cavalcade. It doesn't have a set color palette, there's no visual hierarchy, and the image printouts at sometimes aren't necessarily all high quality. But this is an awesome album cover. It's truly a case-by-case basis, the true definition of subjectivity. This is where it becomes subjective, and art itself becomes subjective. Because even if there isn't anything technically wrong with it, it still looks gross, and that comes down to personal opinion. But no, there are technical, explainable reasons why some album covers just look like shit. I think I've cracked the code of how to make a good album cover. If you make sure all the boxes are checked, the colors are nice, work together, the visual hierarchy isn't out of whack, and it's taken and edited professionally, you're off to a good start. But arguably the most important factor is you need to make people go, what the fuck is that? You're the snitch? What the fuck is this? It brings you in. It's so visually appealing and disgusting at the same time. What could this possibly sound like, you ask yourself? Begs you to listen, and it matches the sound of the music. Best Death Grips album cover, period. Yeah, I said it. What you gonna do about it? Fight me, pussy. Malibu Ken. What the fuck is this? Why does this Barbie doll look like it's on its third ketamine bender of the day? And why are the colors so bright compared to such a gross looking melting face? Which matches with the sometimes gross and colorful music. All thoughts fly. What the fuck is this? Why is this mystery woman standing in the mouth of the Alaskan bullworm? It begs to be listened in a scary, uneasy, but at the same time calm atmosphere, like the music. Listen to this shit for real. Jake recommends. If this is all still a bit confusing to you, let's break it down with a classic Jake allegory. An argument that frequently comes up that I've made myself goes like this. If you're walking in the aisles of a record store, if a customer knows absolutely nothing about your music or who you are, is your cover interesting, loud, unique, and visually appealing enough to get someone to take a chance on a complete unknown? And just switch record store to Spotify for a more modern example. In conclusion, whether an album cover is well made, it can be proved and disproved with principles confirmed time and time again by graphic designers over the years. But whether you like it or not, it's subjective. A cover can be well made, but just not be visually appealing and look like shit. And some album covers can technically be poorly made, but still look like fantastic pieces of art. So take that with a grain of salt. I sorta answered your question. More of raised more than answered, and you can start understanding why some album covers just look like shit. And so when you drop your experimental pop rock album of the summer, you won't get laughed off the internet because your cover looks like shit. When in doubt, just buy the rights to someone else's painting or artwork because it'll save you a big headache. Thank you for watching. Hopefully some cool album covers were bouncing across the screen to kind of clean your palette from the shitty ones I've showed. But thank you for watching. That was kind of sick, you doing this, and it's been a while since I've sat down in front of this camera in this direction, if you catch my drift. I'm not a professional art critic or graphic design man. A faux professional, I guess you could say. I'm just a dude with a big number next to my name, giving my 2 cents on a topic that I find interesting. If you'd like to see me in more places and miss me uploading frequently, check out my podcast. I have the Big Fish Podcast, which is on hiatus right now, but it's going to come back, I promise. Thank you to 200 subs. I haven't even uploaded in over 2 months, and that just got to 200 subs. Don't know how. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Also, check out the Good Enough podcast I do with Jackson Burns and Luke on Demand. We kind of do the goose, talk a lot, and just kind of do cool shit. If you just want more of me, that's a weekly podcast. I've been doing that weekly since the start of 21, pretty much. Check out my social medias on Instagram, Twitter, Bumble, I don't know. All that will be linked down below. And Patreon. Check out my Patreon. I'm beefing that shit up, bro. I'm beefing that shit up. I just recently created a review series called I've Been Listening to Shit, and that's where I go over the stuff that I've been listening to and get recommended to listen to by patrons. Here's a clip of me reviewing something with a shitty album cover to keep on track. Did I love it? No. Did I hate it? No. But yeah, that's all I got going on pretty much. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Check out for Patreon. Not only am I doing the I've Been Listening to Shit, but I'm also going to be releasing some little snippets of what I've been working on, because I got some more videos coming soon. And you can tell I got a haircut and I don't know what to do with it, so I'm just fucking around with it. If you'd like to see me revisit the album cover topic, I'd love to get back into it, because I love talking about what makes album covers good and what makes them look like shit. It's a fun flip side to the music, where it's a whole different kind of genre of art to talk about. I find it very interesting. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think I've been talking your ear off for long enough. Go look at a cool album cover, or pet a dog, or do some push-ups. I don't know. As long as you remember to pay for album art, don't steal that, then you're all set to go. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and have a pleasant day.